this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about this video that's making the rounds of this trans activist complaining about people who aren't attracted to trans people, saying that that automatically makes you transphobic, which is funny because I recall many trans activists who are, influencers or whatever, claiming that that's not the case, but or no one is saying that you're transphobic for not wanting to be with a trans person when there's clearly people like that out there. I'm not saying that's like the I don't know, the mindset of the whole entire community, but I just wanted to point that out, that they exist, and talk about the craziness of it. Also, Matt Walsh, some time ago, he did well, it wasn't that long ago, but he talked about surrogacy, and he ended up doing like a whole monologue about it. I'm pretty sure that Guy Benson, perhaps his surrogacy kind of popped off that conversation because there's a lot of back and forth about it. And so he talked about it overall, and he brought up someone on TikTok and their videos of someone who is an actual surrogate. And he said, even when they say good things, there's things that are still bad underneath. So she had saw that he did a video about it. So I just wanted to go ahead and reply to it because I replied to her like in the comments. So she did a video reply. And so I didn't have the chance to like respond to her yet. So I guess I just wanted to do it here with you guys here. So also I guess a little ranting about Republicans and their our speaker and what's going on with the budget and etc. So before we jump into that, I do want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It does cost us to stream and run my website, all that stuff. You guys can support in that way. I very much do appreciate it. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys can do super thanks, super chats, all that stuff. So I do thank you to those who do participate in that kind of way. I do have different shirts that you guys can look at the shop at the web. You can go to the website and look at different merchandise, shirts and mugs and so on. So yesterday I explained I was getting into the venture of TikTok shop. And so I did end up connecting to it, but I think I might have to remake my items to put on the shop. So I don't have anything on there yet, but I am connected. So this is going to be like the first thing I push because this is like the favorite thing that people like, this shirt right there. So we'll see how it goes. I think there's still a way to do it to Facebook. I'm not sure if the platform I use will do it to YouTube or not. So I'll do the updates, but otherwise you guys know that you guys can go right to the website to buy products on the site. Also, if you go to the merchandise page, you'll see a banner at the top that'll show you some of my books and stuff and take you to my book website. I have 17 altogether, 2 nonfiction, and the rest are fiction. And I write from like middle grade to like new adult. So go ahead and check that out. Just briefly would like to explain why I'm a little late today. And already got a super chat. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. So before I came on, I started doing my makeup, and after I put my foundation on, my face just started burning and then seemed like it was like exploding and really breaking out and stuff. So I took off my makeup, and then I washed my face and moisturized it and waited to like reapply. But I don't know why I'm gonna switch out my foundation, which this is a new kind of stuff that I've been using since the last time I bought foundation, because my other stuff was like out and they didn't have any thing that was related to the color I normally use at the store that I went to. So I tried out this different foundation, and I don't know if it's the makeup itself or this body wash combination, because I don't know. But I'm not going to do that again. I'm gonna just mix up my stuff. But yeah, it was burning and stuff. So I was like, well, I gotta at least pump the brakes. So I appreciate um your patience. I did not just put you guys on the back burner for no reason. There was a reason. So there's that. Just wanted to give you guys an explanation. Not that I feel that I always totally owe you guys an explanation, but I think I mean, you guys expect me to be on a certain time. So there's the explanation. And yeah, I wouldn't normally try to push stuff back for no reason. So anyway, let's jump into this video, the trans video, and then we'll go into the Matt Walsh stuff. So some time ago, one of the first videos that I did, that it didn't go viral, but it um, started getting attention, was a video response to Sam Lux, who's a trans influencer on YouTube. I think I've only seen Sam on YouTube. So I first came across Sam because Sam did a response to a video that Ben Shapiro did on his he had a special show behind the paywall, Debunked. I think that's what the show was. And so he did an episode about trans issues. And so Sam did a response video to Ben's video. And so I did a response video to Sam's video about Ben's video. And so I think that whole video is maybe it's at least 30 minutes long. You guys can go back and watch the whole thing if you want. But then I started getting some follows. One particular page was promoting it. People came over from that. But in that video, Ben said something about, he complained about folks who think that if you're not attracted to trans people, then that's somehow transphobic. And Sam was like, yeah, that's not what we're saying, or just kind of dismissed it. And I paused it and I'm like, I might have said at that point, why are you lying? Because if you're on the internet, you've got to know that there's people like that out there. So I said, I'm glad that you have that opinion that doesn't make you transphobic because you don't want to date a trans person, but there's definitely people out there. So there is a video that I believe libs of TikTok, they're usually the perpetrator, the ones who find these videos and circulate them around on YouTube. They posted it, and actually I saw it because a friend of mine retweeted it and was just like, these people, like, this is, in her words, this is savage. She said this is rapey, because you are not entitled to people's affection. You're not entitled to people's attraction. So anyway, without further ado, let me play the video so you know what I'm actually responding to.
Genital preferences are always transphobic. You're welcome. No, but seriously, deciding that you don't want to be intimate with someone because of the genitals they have is transphobic, particularly if you think about, in this case, this means that this person is not open to dating trans women, which invalidates their womanhood. Not only that, it makes assumptions about the way that trans people are going to want to use those genitals. The idea that trans people use the body parts that they have in the same way that cis people with those same body parts do is transphobic. Say it with me. Genital preferences are always transphobic.
No. No, it's if we expand transphobic to, I don't want to date you, I don't want to sleep with you, gosh, that's so many people, and that word is already so meaningless, and you're just stretching it to the point where it's just there's no value in it. There's no value in it. It's not insulting. People throw that word around, and I'm like, you can call me that, but what am I supposed to roll over and die because you called me that term, when it can just mean I don't know, simp for reality. You push reality, you push truth, you push honesty, or in this case, you just don't want to sleep with someone who or date someone who you're not attracted to. Now, I um they said that cis women and trans people, they use their genitals the same. Like, you mean like a reconstructed sort of situation? No. No. If you're a male and you do some stuff down there and you think that you got a vajayjay all of a sudden, you're still not going to be able to do what women are designed to do. You can say intelligently designed, you could say evolved to do, but women are ordered to gestate. And not all women um, can have babies. Some are infertile, some are, you know, well, if they're not women, if they're not old enough, developed enough to do that, they're still children. But in our inherent nature, our gametes are the larger ones. In males, they have the smaller ones. We're binary. The sex exists on a binary. It is what it is. So you can, I wouldn't date someone. Some people date for fun. Like, I wouldn't date someone I wasn't interested in marrying. So I definitely wouldn't date someone who was trans. I wouldn't. Most people wouldn't. Um, I want to marry a man and I'd like to start a family. And that's just kind of hardwired within us. It's not a desire for everyone, surface level, but that is sort of hardwired into our species to go out there and procreate. It's natural reproduction. It's just the order of things. Again, whether that's biology, and particularly if you believe in a higher power where there's some kind of intelligent design, where there's male and female, and they'll come together and become one flesh, and they beget. That's just how it works. So if you're a man and you like trans women, it makes you gay. And it's weird how much people want to suppress that. It just is. But you're not entitled to people's feelings. You're not entitled to their attraction. This is a weird thing to whine about, weird thing to complain about. And it's so egotistical. It's so egotistical. I wonder if I can find um, Savvy's post and read it really quick to you guys. It's just so bizarre. But I've heard this many times before. So I'm not surprised in the least. Like, this was something that again, I thought was strange that Sam Lux wasn't aware of, or was just choosing to ignore. Sav said this entire conversation is rapey. There's no such thing as genital preference. I need y'all to stop using crackhead euphemisms to be polite. Genital preference is a TRA language. It's used by people who are under the delusion their gender identity has meaning or value outside of their head. What you call yourself doesn't change what you are. You don't have a genital preference, you have a sexual orientation. Yes. You don't need a reason to not want to be with someone. You don't owe anyone your time, your personal space, your affection, or your body. You don't want to date trans people? Cool. Do you need a reason? No. This entire conversation comes from people who refuse to accept the consequences of their actions. And one of those consequences is a limited dating pool. Absolutely. 100%. So, when people decide that they are going to transition, quote unquote, because there's no destination you can actually reach. So you're not transitioning into anything. You're just doing things to your body. You can have, dysphoria, feel like you're trapped in the wrong body, whatever the heck that means. and make the decision that you're going to start altering yourself physically. But if you do that, you have to understand that the rest of the world does not have to conform to you. If you want to bring all of your issues and flip them inside out for all of us to see, people can choose to accept you. People can go along with what you believe, but you cannot expect people to do that. But you can't expect people to just conform to your reality. So again, this is so bizarre. I wouldn't date someone who I wasn't serious about, who I didn't see some kind of future with. And I know that you might be saying, well, you're an older person. Of course you're like trying. That was just kind of the way that we were raised, that you don't play around with people's hearts. You can hang out with friends, but you're going to be with someone and kissing someone or all that stuff, or if you want to do that, or just kind of wait. One of my sisters wants to wait to actually have her kiss until her wedding day. That she heard that testimony from a married couple when she was a kid, and you can be a celibate. This is the situation you want to be, but we were just kind of raised that you date someone who you can see being a potential partner. You can hang out with folks if you'd like. So if I don't want to date someone who's trans, which most people don't, if that makes me homophobic, whatever, or transphobic, whatever. But lots of people have preferences. Like there was a poll going around of a, I didn't think she was that cute actually, but there was a woman with tattoos, and she was thin, and it said like she had no religion, multiple kids, her body count was above 100, and it was like you can pick her or you can pick this other woman who's celibate, no kids. But she was religious, she was a Christian, but she was fat, she was overweight. And so Pearly Things had retweeted it and did a poll. And at the time when I saw it, people picked the big woman as opposed to the other woman. And someone in the comments was like, women just don't understand men. Now, most people are like option C. Like, I guess most people's minds are like, we'd rather have the values. Hopefully she can lose weight. Pearl tried to say that you have to take this option B, but she can't lose weight. And I saw some people say A, but most people that I saw were saying they would either take neither option, but they would take B, even though they maybe didn't physically want to do it, but they were thinking about values and building a family and the kind of children that they would have. And their reluctance, even with the big woman, was, well, how I don't know. I guess they just figured that they were concerned about how long she would last, I guess, because she was a big girl. And valid, there's a lot of concerns when people in your life are bigger and they have different health issues and stuff. So I get that. But most people were thinking about a family structure. People are just hired that way. When you're young people might want to fool around, but eventually they want to settle down and have a family. Like I was on a panel today. We were talking about abortion, and then someone asked a question about whether people should be able to get their tubes tied. And so it spawned off to, we talked about that for a long time. And someone said, well, if women were allowed to get their tubes tied, because some doctors don't want to do it, so women find a hard time getting access to it. And so one girl on the panel, she said like she could die if she had a child, basically. And so that's why she was trying to get her tubes tied. And it took her years to really find someone who's going to do it. And then someone else on the panel, they had a kid at like 18, and the doctor was like, do you want to get your tubes tied? And so it was kind of whiplash, because I'm like, they asked an 18-year-old. my opinion is that I think if you're young, like you never know when you're going to change your mind, if you're going to change your mind about kids. So that's such a permanent thing. I don't really think that women should jump to do that. But I don't think it should necessarily be something that women shouldn't be able to do. However, it's an elective surgery. And if doctors don't want to do that, I don't know what else should do, because doctors are the ones who have to do it at the end of the day. You can't make them do it. And I don't think you should make them do it. So that's where I stood on the issue. But someone asked if we had more women tying their tubes, would that lead to less abortion? And I said not. I don't really think so. I think it would lead to other ethical sort of issues, because not I said not every woman is going to run out and get their tubes tied. Just because the option is available. You have some women who won't even make their man wear a condom, and you have some women who won't take birth control at all. So people aren't going to just be running out to get a permanent surgery on them, especially when they might want to have kids sometime later. There's plenty of women who've had abortions and then go on and have kids later. So no, I didn't really think it would necessarily mean less abortions, but I said one thing that could happen if our society starts really pushing people to, oh, go ahead and sterilize yourself, and you have young people running out to do this, or women running out to do that, and you date, you mess around or whatever, the guys you're messing around with, they don't have to worry about you getting knocked up. But eventually you get older, they get older, and they want a family, and you've already had your tube. I think you just remove the tubes now. So if you no longer have that option for them, they'll just circle back maybe to someone younger who hasn't done that procedure. So it's just to me, something like that would really devalue women, and make women who make those choices more of a sex object more than a life partner. So I don't know. You just got to be careful about being so certain that people don't want kids, because people change their minds, man. But I said that anyway to say people are focused on families and making families. Maybe they're not when they're really young, but it's just ingrained in men and women to reproduce. So if you have a fake vajayjay, you're not going to be much use to a man. You're not. You can do whatever you want to your body. It's still not going to change what you are. And you can strap a dildo to yourself, but that'll make you a man. You're not going to be impregnating any women anytime soon. So strange times. Strange times. Anyway, let's move on to this Matt Walsh surrogate thing. So there was a big debate a couple weeks ago in the surrogacy sphere, well, in the conservative sphere, about surrogacy. And so it's kept snowballing, but sometime people conservatives talking about Dave Rubin and whether they should celebrate like him doing surrogacy. And then Guy Benson from Fox News, he and his husband did surrogacy. So my position on that is I don't think it's ethical to design a child with the intention of them living a life without their mother. Not all children end up being raised by a mother and a father, particularly even their biological ones. Maybe there's some kind of tragedy. Maybe the relationships don't work out. Maybe the mother got pregnant, didn't want the kid or whatever, gave up for adoption, etc. Things happen when life naturally happens. But designing a child for that, to live through that kind of situation, I'm not a fan of that. So I think I talked about that quite a bit when that was kind of front page Twitter news, I guess. And the conversations kept going on because there's always these dudes who post pictures in the bed holding the babies, like where's the person who actually delivered the baby, and so on. Or they'll talk about how they picked out their particular eggs or the embryos, and how they picked out the donors out of these catalogs. Like it's very commercialized, and it treats the women and the children as objects. I mean, rather than subjects, So there's a lot of like ethical things. Ali Stuckley's talked a lot about it, and Matt had a good um, breakdown of his issues. So anyway, he decided to do like a monologue about surrogacy. And so he ended up mentioning someone who is a surrogate who did a video on TikTok who was explaining the good things about it. So if you want to watch that whole segment with Matt, you can go back and watch it yourself. But I want to show his initial TikTok that he posted, which is a clip of his segment about it, because the person who he did the video on saw it. And I didn't personally think that the video that was cut up really explained his whole point very well. And I told her that, and she ended up replying to my comment about it. So I want to play his video so there's some context surrounding that, and then her video um, replying to my comment. But Matt's initial sort of um, response to her video, or using her video, is that this is someone who says it's a good thing, but you can see these bad things even within her talking about these particular within this industry. It's supposed to be a positive video about it, and you still see some ethical issues with it. So here is Matt's initial video.
Influencer on TikTok talk about her own experiences as a surrogate.
I've been a surrogate 3 times, so here is my 5 things I would not do as a surrogate or trying to become one. I would not transfer more embryos than I'm willing to carry. That means I would not transfer 2 or 3 embryos if I only wanted to carry 1 baby and not have twins or triplets. I would not bend on any requirements. In the beginning, if you use an agency or whatever, you match with people of like mind. So you can say, I don't want to work with these type of people, or I do want to work with these type of people, and here are my requirements. So if you are not 100% comfortable aborting or terminating a pregnancy because the child might have Down syndrome or something of that nature.
So to review, a surrogate contractually signs her uterus over to a third party. That third party can contractually require her to kill the child in her womb. The third party controls what she says about her pregnancy. And then when the 9 months are up, she delivers the child and hands him over to the third party, never to see him again.
So that was the TikTok that Matt posted about like his whole segment. Now, it was at least 10 minutes. Maybe it was longer than that. You'll have to go find it on his Twitter feed. I don't think he posted the full section. You'll have to actually go find the episode. I don't know off the top of my head which episode it was, but this is some weeks ago. This was like before Christmas. And his I had said to the girl who did the surrogate, who's a surrogate, that I didn't think the clip that they used, and granted, Matt Walsh's team posted it on TikTok, I didn't feel that they explained the whole video very well. Because her issue with Matt is that he's making it seem like surrogates don't have any agency, and there are these poor people who are just being taken advantage of, and there are these dupes or whatever. So that's not now that can totally happen. And there are women who find themselves in really tragic, unfortunate situations with these contracts. But that's not his overall issue with surrogacy, but you can't know just from that little video there. So let me go ahead and play her response to me after I tried to explain Matt's video a little bit.
To surrogacy, I mean, yeah, there's a few, and there has been some horrible situations arise from surrogacy. But I think that's with anything in life. If you look at a lot of beautiful things, you're gonna have to go through some negative side effects. Like pregnancy in itself kind of sucks at times. There's morning sickness, you're gaining a lot of weight, you feel miserable, but it's all worth it in the end. Like, I can get down when he says that there are some negative things along with the positive things. I mean, yeah, that's life. I'd say life is pretty great, right? Until it's not, until it is negative. But then there's great things. I mean, it is what it is. Just like the saying, pain is the best teacher. It is. College is great for some people, but you're adding up debt. a negative for a positive. Here's my big problem with what he's saying. He's basically saying like surrogates are low class and have to listen to these high class people who have the money and they tell them what to do. That's kind of what a contract is, right? Like a lot of people have signed contracts and both parties have to agree to the terms, negotiate, agree, and then once everyone agrees, they sign it. The intended parents have to abide by the contract as well as the surrogate has to abide by the contract. That's what a contract is. But again, they agree on the terms. The intended parents just aren't telling the surrogates what to do. But here's the thing, the great journeys, the good journeys don't come up on news articles because it's not something people want to hear. They want to hear the juicy, they want to hear the gossip, they want to hear the bad of surrogacy. When in reality, there is far greater great stories than there is bad stories.
So, let me move it off of a different still. Okay. So I think she missed the Matt's entire point, which I don't. Again, they just posted that little snippet on TikTok, so you can only gather what you can gather out of it. And if she wants to respond again, she can go watch Matt's whole video and respond to that. But I'm just going to try to, I guess, explain his position a bit. His issue isn't that there's good things in life, but also bad things that happen. Even with like, pregnancies, having kids, there's some, it's hard. Feeding them, raising them. There's lots of highs. There's lows as well. Temper tantrums, cleaning up messes and, illnesses, all kinds of stuff that aren't fun to deal with. But of course, overall, it's a good thing to raise your kids and love your kids and build families, etc. He doesn't see surrogacy as a good thing. He sees it, and even though there's lots of people who are born walking around today through surrogacy. There's, people who help infertile couples. There's all sorts of things that we can consider that's very good that comes out of surrogacy. Matt's position is that it's an evil thing. Not that it's a good thing with some bad aspects. His thing is like, it's an evil thing. And not that there's not some good things that you can say comes out of it. But his thing is that it's an evil thing. In her video that was supposed to highlight, hey, you're a surrogate and you have agency in the matter. Make sure that you take power of your contract and you only do what you're comfortable with. Her video still highlighted some evil aspects of the industry. Like, hey, if you don't want to abort a baby with Down syndrome, make sure you have that in your contract. Matt Walsh's position will obviously be, that's evil whatever way you slice it. So having the people can put that in a contract and expect you to hold up that end of the bargain, that's the sort of thing that he's pointing out that is not a good thing. Even though she made her video again to like give agency and advice to the women who do it, and you can be with like-minded people who wouldn't ask you to do that or whatever. There are women who find themselves in situations where they're asked to terminate and they don't want to terminate the pregnancy. So or what if there's multiple like she's like to only be implanted with what you're willing to carry. So we're talking about like fetal reduction. Well, abortions and stuff could happen and you could be contractually obligated to do that, or they could expect you to at least do it. So that's obviously a dark aspect of it, for example. So that's why he used that video to say, hey, even these people who are pro surrogacy highlight that there's some really abhorrent things about it. Now, I have a friend who did surrogacy. I don't know if I know anyone who was born through surrogacy, but not in like real life, but of course I've had conversations with people online, and no shade to wonderful people who exist in our life today through that sort of process. Life is precious. Everyone has inherent value. But I wouldn't for example, recommend people have babies out of wedlock, but I wouldn't say, it's wrong for people to be here who happen to naturally come into existence in that kind of way. And I think there's different shades of surrogacy that people accept and don't accept, like people feel more comfortable about. For people who are, if you're helping an infertile couple, I already mentioned a controversial case that conservatives were debating online and stuff, where it was, two guys who purchased an egg, and then they had that egg implanted in a mother, which they do that to sever the bond, the connection, as much as possible. So there's they're trying to wither the legal claim as much as possible. There could be other reasons, but that's part of it. So they purchase an egg and they purchase a womb. And then when that baby's born, they take the baby from the only mother that the child has known. And then they, after they've designed this child, they've purposed it within themselves that this child will not have a mother. And you can flip it with if it was two lesbians, they design a child to be without the father. I don't think that's right. I don't think women are and mothers are that replaceable to merit that. And I think the thinking that they are is why you got people from that other video we watched with the trans person who's trying to pretend like there's no difference between a man who says he's a woman and when you start thinking that there's not something bigger, like men and women are complementary in their nature. If you think they're replaceable, the evolution just keeps happening. I think it's like unthinkable to be like, oh yeah, let's design a kid and not have them have a mother on purpose, like in a lab. And then there's other questions like, how many embryos did you create? Matt Walsh is pro-life. Life starts at conception. So how many embryos did you create? How many were destroyed? And you can say embryos like when women are pregnant and stuff, or, there's fertilized eggs that won't implant in a woman's uterus. You can make that argument, but again, that's all a natural sort of process that's going on, as opposed to deliberately doing this and creating the embryos. So yeah, how many embryos are destroyed, or how many are frozen and trapped in time? So there's lots of questions beyond different circumstances where women find themselves. I already talked about this, but Ali Suckley interviewed someone and they were talking about how in China, people will use surrogates in the US and they have babies here. Someone in China will pay to have surrogates have the babies here. And that automatic citizen. And then there was one woman, she was, I don't know if she was black or her husband was black, but the baby she ended up getting pregnant with her own child at the same time she was carrying the Chinese baby. And so they just like take him like immediately, I guess. And so they end up taking her baby too. It took her some time to get her own baby back. So you can think that you have a pretty good contract, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get screwed in some kind of way. There was one story where there was a woman who liked her couple, and it was a gay couple, but she ended up finding out that she had really aggressive cancer, and they needed to start treatment on it. So she wanted to at least have the baby long enough that she could induce the labor, and hopefully the baby would survive. They didn't want. They didn't want her to do that. They first of all, they were mad and like, you purposely didn't disclose this? Did you know that you had cancer? And which she didn't know that she had cancer. And these women are screened before any of that happens. And so they are upset about that, but they did not want a baby that was going to be a preemie, because I guess of possible health risks or whatever. So they just wanted a death certificate, and they wanted her to abort that child. And so it was a really crazy story. Ali has an interview on her podcast about it if you want to look it up. But yeah, there's some definitely some dark stuff to this. And I understand people like her who want to help other people have a family. I understand it. Again, I know people who are surrogates, and I don't think they are intending to do something that is unethical or evil, whatever. But just like from Matt Walsh's perspective, again, this isn't like a good thing that with bad things that happen. I would say, I would assume that Matt thinks overall it's a not a good thing. That is an unethical thing that some good things can come out of. I think is how he would rather look at the situation. So again, you guys and the young woman who made the video are free to go watch Matt's whole section about it. I have I've been researching it a lot. I think there's a lot of like ethical sort of questions with the industry. And again, if you're a pro-life person, you believe life starts at conception, you know, what do you do there? And someone in the comments, I don't know if it was for Matt or another conservative that was talking about surrogacy, and they're like, well, I'm a surrogate and I carried the eggs that that survived. And I was like, well, what if more had survived? Would you have carried all 8 or etc, whatever the number was? She didn't end up responding, but yeah, what would you do? Would you just keep them frozen, or would you all have them? Now there are some people who fertilize and stuff, and they'll carry all the eggs. But there are women who will have the implantation, and then their eggs will split off. Like there was one story, we covered it before, but a woman, she had in vitro. It wasn't even surrogacy, but it was in vitro. And so she was like, well, what are the odds that if we implant 2 that it'll become 3? And the doctor is like, oh, that's very, 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 very low chance. So they implanted both eggs, and one split and was a set of twins. And so eventually she did not want 3 babies. And so the doctors eventually told her that she was going to have to do a fetal reduction. And so I guess she was like, okay, she thought about it. She's like, well, can we abort one of the twins? And that seemed like such a strange thing to me. I'm like, is it because you have one that's like this and one like the other, so you don't need the spare? So I mean, an awful situation to be in, but like, what made you come up with that, I guess? So anyway, she they said how the twins were, if one died, the other would die. So either she needed to abort the twins, or she needed to abort the other one. So she decided that she was gonna, I think, abort the single baby. And then one of the twins wasn't developing as well as the other twin. So they said that they were going to end up dying. So they had to end up choosing the twins, and aborted the twins. And she ended up spending like $100,000 by the time it was all said and done with the in vitro fertilization and the abortions. But you're doing a lot of things to your body that isn't necessarily natural. So how do you know that your body is able to take all the stuff that you're kind of pumping into it? So lots of questions to ask, lots of questions to think about, but interesting debates all around. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Matt's video. And if she's more curious about it, if she did a response video to Matt and his whole section, he might even respond to it again. Matt is like a dog with a bone. If he thinks he's right about something, he'll keep going. I have been engaged in a Twitter debate with Matt before, and that went on for days, and lots of comments. But anyway, last thing I want to know is that Republicans are delivering not in good ways. They have decided to pass a budget, or the speaker's trying to pass a budget that the Democrats like and Biden likes, which is red flags all around. Charlie Kirk, complained. He said, "Stop me if you've heard this before. House Republicans struck a spending deal with Democrats over the weekend to avoid a government shutdown. Speaker Johnson claims that it's, quote, the most favorable budget agreement Republicans have achieved in over a decade." Now, remember, they got rid of McCarthy um, to pushed him out because he was, I don't know, compromising too much or wasn't fulfilling his duty or all kinds of crazy stuff. It didn't really make sense. But Matt Gaetz wanted him out, and other people kind of signed on to it, and he was ousted by a few people. And so they needed another speaker. They didn't have a speaker for a couple weeks. I think it was a couple weeks, and you ended up getting Speaker Johnson. And Speaker Johnson, he's like, oh, Christian sort of way of thinking, and like that's his thing. But it's like, but how are you actually going to govern at the end of the day and make these deals with the Democrats or try to pass responsible sort of budgets while they're pushing to get their agenda done, and you have such a slim, margin of folks? Now, the other day, he and other Republicans went to the border, and Chip Roy was kind of said something along the lines of, I think the sentiment was like, we shouldn't do much unless they decide to do something about this border. Like that's a top issue, kind of with the threat of shutting down the government if possible. And Johnson kind of just shut that down with the reporters. But if you're going to be like, let's give away our leverage, why? Why? If you would do anything to keep the government from not shutting down, which there's people so angry about this border, I'm sure they would be happy with the shutting it down if that would achieve some kind of goal, in stopping the crazy influx of people coming in, the historic influx of people coming in. If Americans had to shut down the government because you're not doing much of your job anyway, a lot of Americans would be fine for that if you guys would actually if it would make you come to some kind of competent deal. But he threw that out the table. So people were talking about him for that. But anyway, back to Charlie Kirk's comment. No surprise, the outcome is a big disappointment on the right. The spending figures are $886 billion for defense spending and $704 billion for discretionary non-defense spending, plus a side deal for another $69 billion in non-defense spending. So really, it's $773 billion in non-defense spending, but the press is reporting it as $704 billion plus a side deal for some reason. So in return for this spending, we get a $10 billion cut to the $80 billion in the House that the House gave to the IRS 2 years ago. In addition, now if you're doing the cuts without cutting all those new IRS agents that they hired, is that I don't know. I wonder if that's just gonna ruin their motivation to do stuff. Just the money cut isn't I don't think that's gonna end up doing much as a plus. In addition, another $6 billion would be cut from various COVID area slush funds that are still around for some reason. So that's $16 billion, literally less than 1% of the total spending in the package. But what's missing? Oh, right. Literally nothing to secure the border, which is in total meltdown. This is basically the same deal conservatives were so disappointed in last summer that they fired Kevin McCarthy for 4 months later. And we're back to where we started. If you need another read on the quality of the deal, there's this. Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden are both celebrating it without reservation. Biden said this on Sunday. The bipartisan funding framework congressional leaders have reached moves us one step closer to preventing a needless government shutdown and protecting important national priorities. Disappointments like this are going to keep happening as long as Republicans keep signaling that they're unwilling to actually shut down the government for even a single day. As long as they send that message, they have no leverage. Democrats know they will submit for now. The Freedom Caucus says the deal framework is totally unacceptable. I agree and hope they hold the line in demanding more, but we'll see if that happens. So I think maybe about a week or so ago, I was having a conversation with my youngest sister and was complaining about Republicans and some of their moral failures, uh, uh, with some of their moral convictions that I think we ought to have with our party, for the purpose of what they think is political gain. And I said, but do you think can you think of reasons to actually vote for Republicans right now? I said, I can think of reasons for voting against the left. I can think of reasons for voting against Biden, voting against the Democrats. Sure, they're doing crazy stuff. Absolutely. And it's only going to get worse. Especially with Biden going and lame duck and stuff. You just, tons of reasons not to vote for them. But do you guys feel that there's reasons to vote for Republicans nowadays? Because I don't know much of what they stand for if they're not going to stand on, especially a lot of like the social sort of convictions that we have. Because the fiscal stuff is like thrown out of the window. There was a time where there was a lot of talk about it. There was a whole Tea Party movement and so on. And people go on campaign trails and they talk about balanced budgets and this and that. And they spend. Trump was a big spender. He spent a lot of money, and not just because of COVID. He spent a lot of money. Before that, he spent a lot of money during it. And even as he was running and campaigning, he was promising to spend more money. And if he gets back in the White House, he's going to continue to spend more money. He signed, bad deals and stuff, bad budget deals. So, but you know what? I never really expected Trump to be like, big on the fiscal responsibility stuff. The man pees in golden toilets. Okay. So I wasn't really expecting it too much out of him. If he could have someone else's wallet to spend stuff on things he would like, yeah, I'm sure he would do that. So I didn't have those. Now that's not good. I mean, we should want people to be there who's gonna, do something about the spending, because it is a big issue and it contributes to inflation, all sorts of different things. But that just wasn't my expectation going in, just to be frank with you. But a lot of these people spent so much money, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So if Republicans aren't the fiscal responsibility people, like, what other reasons do you guys see, like, for voting for Republicans, especially if they're going to cave on the border? They can complain about the border all they want, but if they're not going to politically leverage some kind of power to get that solved, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Unless we take the presidency, unless we win those seats, and it's like, okay, well, please elect me, and then we'll do this thing. Okay, but we see you caving in a lot of other ways, so we're concerned about, if we give you more power, are you gonna wield it effectively? Now, I'll still take them over the Democrats. Don't get me wrong, because I think the alternative is worse. But there's a difference in voting against someone and voting for someone. There's a big difference in voting against someone and voting for someone. So they got to get it together. They got to get it together. To just be like, to pretend like it's just all off the table, man. DeSantis, I'm going to play DeSantis's video, but he ripped into him too for the budget deal. And he said some good stuff. I'm just not gonna bother playing it, but just take my word for it. You guys can look it up yourself. He posted it on Twitter. Speaking of DeSantis, man, I don't know what's up with Fox. Well, I do know what's up with Fox, but there is a narrative about DeSantis, like, you're trying to spin that he didn't go to all the counties, and they reported it as it was happening, how many counties he was going to, and how many that was his goal. And they came out with a graphic claiming that he only went to 99 events in 57 counties, and his numbers are like way less than Vivek on this graphic. I guess I'll just show it to you. Now I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but Fox News reported that he went to 99 counties, and CNN reported that he went to 99 counties. It was a big thing. So I don't know where they're getting these numbers and stuff from. But I said I don't know what's up with Fox, and then I said I do know what's up with Fox. I'm sure there's lots of people at Fox who aren't too fond of Trump. As a matter of fact, if you look back at the lawsuit that they had with Dominion, and some of that stuff with Tucker Carlson's text messages came out, he said some really not nice things about Trump, not liking him and being so glad when he would be irrelevant, and then he I think hated him and stuff. So I'm sure there's lots of people at the network who probably have a similar sort of sentiment and think it would be better if we kind of moved on to another person. However, they lost a lot of freaking money in that lawsuit, and Trump gets money for networks, all networks. So you're gonna now I know I don't know what Trump's numbers are, and I don't know if that thing boosted up Trump's numbers, but if you could do what you can to lower DeSantis's appeal, he's most likely to win if Trump doesn't win. So if you make DeSantis look bad, you're automatically making Trump look good. So there might be people who don't like him. There's probably a lot of people at Fox who aren't too fond of him. But he makes a lot of people a lot of money. And that's true for the mainstream media. And that's true for conservative commentators. It's true for conservative commentators as well. It is. So, I mean, when if I post something criticizing Trump a bit, where'd some of my followers go? I guess I can have with any candidate, but particularly, people are sensitive about Trump. A lot of people hate him, but a lot of people really love him, are super defensive about him. So, but that DeSantis only being to 57 counties, that is not true. And they know it's not true, and they already reported that he's been to 99 counties. Anyway, thank you guys for being with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles and videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It does cost to stream and run my website, all that stuff. So you guys can support. I do appreciate you. You guys can check out different merch that we have available at the shop, like the Be Better Not Better shirts. We got mugs and all kinds of other different stuff you guys can check out. And I do have books available on Amazon. If you search my name, Christina L. Barr, you'll find it. Find my stuff. So go ahead and check me out. I have 2 nonfiction books, and I have plenty of fiction books, 17 altogether, and I'm still always writing. So I look forward this year to coming out with some new multiple material. So just be on the lookout for that. God bless you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.